You next. Okay.
You're the best. Thank you.
Perfect.
Now recording.
Welcome everyone. This is Fear Factor Season 4. Today is focused on SSI versus SSDI. Just give me the basics. Our plan for today is we're going to walk through some quick introductions and just housekeeping, and then dive right into our overview of the difference between Social Security and SSDI. And then toward the end, we're going to have some next steps. We're going to open it up to some Q&A. So please do drop your questions in that Q&A as we go, and we'll get to those. And then we'll do a couple polls at the end of it as well. So we've got a poll to start off with because we want to know who you are. As we pull that up, we'll talk through. You have the options on this poll of answering an SSA, another county board, staff person, family member, self-advocate, provider, and opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities staff, or Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities staff. Or if you're an other, then you can always drop that in the chat. So polls.
I was going to say, did I just open it? On my side, it looks like I opened it, but I don't see anybody voting. Did I already mess up?
It does not look like it has been launched. Does anybody have it? Are you guys seeing it?
No, let me try that again. Hold on.
All right.
They seem to be texting it.
Yeah, chat is also good.
Oh.
Give it a second. We'll get a poll going here.
It won't let me launch it. That's weird. Does it let you launch it, Anne?
Oh, it's grayed out.
Yeah. What did I do wrong? Oh, well, just tell us in the chat box. You're amazing. Thank you for being.
I think it's the order of it.
Oh, because I did the first one first.
Yep.
Oh, no, that's the quiz.
Hold on.
Don't take the quiz.
I ended it, didn't I?
That's silly. We messed up.
Now I got it. I got it.
All right. That was Lisa.
There we go. Here's our first one. Who's here today?
Thank goodness for Ann Tapia from Department of DD. I made all this and she's saving me. Thank you, Ann. So here, you can also do it in the poll real quick, who you are, so we have some numbers.
And oh my goodness. There are folks who are in the chat answering as well.
That's all right. A lot of people are doing both. I love it. We got 175, 80% of the people, lots of SSAs. We got some other county board staff. I love that. Ooh, I got an EI service coordinator. Way to go. Way to be thinking early. Awesome.
Hey, Lisa, I do see there's a Q&A. There's somebody who said they're a brand new SSA and they wanted to know how they make sure they get their credit for today. So maybe, do you mind mentioning that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to end the poll and share the results while I do that. So yeah, the continuing ed, what you do is you will get an email once you've been checked in by our events coordinator, and it will come from, I don't know, you guys, you're gonna have to ask other friends, but the basic thing is give us about 48 hours, go back into my events in your OACB events page on Member Connect, and there will be a little box next to this event that says claim CPDU, and then that will pull it up, give you an evaluation, pull it up, and that. If you have any problems, you can just email training@oacbdd.org and they will help you out, or me. Okay. All right, so we got 80% SSAs, 15% other county board staff. We have a couple providers in here. Yay for you. Some people from OOD, and Tapia is here from the Department of DD, but she can't answer on the poll. So we do have representative from DODD. Thanks. All right.
All right.
So anyways, there we know who we are and who's in the room.
And next up.
So go ahead.
Fear factor. The idea of fear factor is that we want to share out facts. We want to evaluate what some of those misnomers are, the myths that exist, and then take action to bust the myths that are out there so that we get to results. And the results being that more people are out there working and not living in fear that there is something holding them back from work.
Absolutely. Keith Banner And I started this a while ago, and we developed these amazing panelists, and Christine had joined us right off the bat. Brown from Nisonger, give him a good parade wave, Christine. Where we really were saying, like, people are just scared. And so we really want, this panel has been meeting together over the past 3 or 4 years, developing topics, and been very available, even outside of Fear Factor, to helping some people with some really tough questions and cases. So we really want to keep this going, and there's always new information about those and updated information. So sometimes we do repeat our topics, but it's been great. And I really want to put a shout out to the crew that is on here. So.
So we want to remind you that there have been other episodes that have happened, and you can find those on the Employment First website. So feel free to look back at previous episodes. And season 4, we are focused on providing updates. Some of the information that was provided during the early seasons, things have changed since then. So we're focused this year on providing that updated information and then digging into some additional topics. And toward the end of this, we'll ask you what you're looking for. So share, think about what else you want to know about and share those thoughts as we prompt you to do so toward the end of this session. There's also a Fear Factor working document, which it's just chock full of really good information, links to additional resources. So check that out as you are looking for additional information. And then we just want to give a quick shout out to all of you all for being here. We appreciate that there are so many SSAs, providers, and when we have family members and people being supported who have been champions of this Fear Factor series, we're just so grateful that you all show up and want to know. So, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. So you're doing great. Good practice for Ian.
We are always asking you what it is that you want to know. What are the fears that are holding people back from getting employment? And so as we're fielding those questions in the field, that's where these prompts come from. And at the end of the poll, or at the end of episode 7, we polled folks who were present. And so that is where we came up with today's topic, SSI and SSDI, for today's session. Here's a list of the previous episodes that you can check out and a link to those recordings, which we can drop in the chat for you. Check out. And then we're going to do another poll.
Am I going to be able to do this one?
I'll pull it up.
I was going to say, mine comes up and it's still the other one.
Let's see.
Because we're co-hosts or something.
Let's get SSI versus SSDI. How much do you know about the difference between SSI and SSDI? I've never heard about SSI or SSDI. I've heard of SSI and SSDI, but I don't understand the difference. I consider myself fairly knowledgeable about SSI and SSDI, or I believe I know as much as the presenters about SSI and SSDI. In which case, let us know who you are, and we will gladly have you join us in the planning.
That's what I wrote on the end of the panel, even though I spelled it wrong. I was like, I consider myself very knowledgeable and I would like to join the panelists. So there you go. Beware of saying that because you will get a call. While you guys are finishing that poll, we're almost done with it. There was a question about the presentation. The presentation will be available on that Employment First website. And I am going to tell you, and I will get it in an OACB Member Connect also, but I'm going to tell you the easiest way to find the link to the document, the link to the past ones, the link to the recording is to type into Google Employment First and Fear Factor. You will come to the direct page that says Employment First and Fear Factor. It's way easier than navigating anything. So that's how you find it. All right, we got
drop it in the chat in a moment, but I'm nervous if I do, it's going to show up on your screen. So
yeah,
bear with me.
I'm making her do too much. So anyways.
Okay.
All right, we got 62% said, yeah, I've heard of them. And we have one brave soul who said, I know nothing basically about SSI and SSDI. So good for you for admitting it, because I was thinking I might say that myself. Other people said, most people said I've heard of them, but I really don't know the difference. And then there's 37% of the people are saying, I kind of know, but I'm still here to learn more. So there's the share the results. Now you can all see it. Perfect. All right.
All right, moving along. We would like to introduce our superstars for today who will be sharing out. Darenda, if you want to unmute and say hello, tell them who you are.
Hi, my name is Darenda Geer. I'm, as it says, a certified work incentive practitioner and currently work for Fairfield County Board of DD. And nice to see some names in the participants that I know. Welcome.
And Jeannie.
Hi, I'm Jeanne Ehmke, and I work for Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities.
You'll hear more from them in just a moment, but we want to give a shout out to our production team behind the scenes. You see the additional folks who are key to making all of these happen. So Elizabeth, you want to say hello?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Elizabeth Reisner here from Butler County DD.
Paula? Oh, sorry.
And good morning, Paula Washat, Clearwater COG.
Welcome, Paula. She's new to our team and we're so excited to have her. Thank you.
Latasha.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Latasha Olinger with Warren County Board of DD.
Christine.
Hi, Christine Brown, self-advocate, and also work at the Ohio State University as a clinical research assistant and self-advocate faculty.
And not here today, but mentioned Nate Turner, who is with the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, and Tanya Chili's, who's with Chili's Creations. So thank you all. Childs, sorry, thank you. Childs with Childs Creations. All right, we are going to dive into our other PowerPoint, and we will let Darenda and Jeannie take it away.
Okay, welcome again, everyone. So we're going to talk about, the differences. Try to stick to just the basics between SSDI and SSI and the work incentives that go along with each of those. You can go to the next one now. Thanks, Sam. Okay, so kind of the agenda for today, we'll talk about SSDI, we'll talk about SSI, the major differences between the two benefits, how earnings will affect those disability benefits. We'll talk about SSDI work incentives, SSI work incentives, and we'll discuss work incentives that apply to both SSDI and SSI. Then we'll talk about future SSDI eligibility, and very importantly, when and how to report your income, your earnings, when you're receiving these benefits. And then we can take questions. Okay, so we'll start with SSDI. That's also, it's under the Title II Act, Social Security Act. And SSDI is also, I should start with its, so it's payable to people who have worked, paid into Social Security through taxes taken out of the paycheck. There's also kind of SSDI, think of it as kind of like an umbrella that encompasses a couple other types of benefits under that SSDI umbrella, and another is called a childhood disability benefit, or CDB. Previously, they were called DAC, disabled adult child benefits, so you'll still hear a lot of people refer to them as DAC, all the same thing, CDB, DAC, childhood disability benefits. So those benefits are payable to the adult child who has a disability of a worker. So the insured worker, the worker has paid into the Social Security system, and the child of that worker is able to receive benefits from that, from what they've paid in, the parent has paid in. So to receive those benefits, the parent of that disabled adult child has to be retired, receiving Social Security retirement benefits themselves, or Social Security disability benefits, or the parent has passed away, the parent who's paid into the Social Security system. So those are the three different ways that the adult child could become eligible for the benefit. The disabled adult child must also have the disabling condition start before they turn 22. And that entitlement to that benefit can start once they are 18 years old. And then another type that's under that SSDI umbrella, don't see a lot of it, but there are individuals who are disabled as widowers. So this would be the spouse of someone who paid into the Social Security system and passed away. Then that disabled spouse could potentially receive benefits from the deceased spouse work record. And there's a couple different like details kind of listed on this slide. You have to be at least 50 years old to become eligible for that disabled widower benefit. There's a time period that Social Security will determine where your disability has to start within a certain period of time related to when the person worked. And then there's some other additional requirements that Social Security would look into for that. You can go to the next. Thanks. Okay, and then switching over, we'll talk about some of the basics on the SSI benefits. Those are under Title 16, the Disability Act. To be eligible for SSI, you would either be disabled or blind with limited income or resources or over the age of 65. So it's basically they you'll sometimes hear you're aged, blind, or disabled. This SSI is a means tested program, and it's not based on a prior work history. So someone could become eligible for SSI because they have the disability, but they don't have to have paid into Social Security by working and paying Social Security taxes in the past. Also a child, so someone under the age of 18 could be eligible for SSI benefits if they're disabled or blind. And in addition, for SSI, there's you need to be a U.S. citizen, qualified alien, reside in one of the 50 states, or DC or the Northern Mariana Islands, and then also have a presence in the U.S. So you can't be gone for more than a month or 30 consecutive days to stay eligible for SSI so you don't be out of the country for longer periods of time. Okay, and then this is important to recognize a little bit more detail about those differences between the two programs. So kind of go back and forth with the differences here. SSDI, as I mentioned, that's going to be based on eligibility, and the amount of the payment is going to be based on the earnings of that worker who's paid into Social Security. Like we said, SSI, not based on earnings, it's needs-based. SSDI, financed by that money that the person has paid in taxes and contributions from their pay into the Social Security system, where SSI, financed by general tax revenue. For SSDI, there's no specific resource limit, or there is an income limit as far as earnings, where you can't be working and making over a certain amount of money to be eligible, but there's nothing to say that you can't have other sources of income, like unearned income or other assets. They don't look at that. So you could own a bunch of properties, cars, have a lot of money essentially in assets, and that would not prevent you from becoming eligible for SSDI. SSI, in contrast, they're going to have income and fairly strict resource limits as far as how much in assets you can have. I will note that for SSI, some people don't know, like you can own your house that you live in and have a car and own a car. So those don't count towards that resource limit, which is $2,000. There are other excluded assets too, but those are the main ones that people tend to have questions about that I've noticed. So you can have a house and a car and still be eligible for SSI. Okay, and then SSDI, you're going to have a certain number of credits. So working over time, you become essentially what they call insured based on how much you've worked and earned over the years. So you have to have a certain number of credits, and it's going to be different depending on your age when your disability started. So generally younger people, you don't have to have as many work credits, as much work history going in to become eligible for SSDI. SSI, you're going to, again, not related to what you've worked in the past, so no work credits are required. Then related insurance to these two programs, Medicare is eligibility comes with SSDI. It starts 2 years from the date that you are entitled to the SSDI. And then Medicaid, so not to be confused. So Medicare, generally it's going to be on the SSDI side. Medicaid automatically starts with SSI eligibility. So, okay, and then the next kind of relates to that benefit amount that you receive. So with SSDI, you see a wider variety of monthly payment amounts that are SSDI. So it's going to be based on what that person has worked in the past and how much they earned. So the more they've earned in the past, the higher that SSDI payment they receive is going to be. Whereas I also should say, or the worker. So if they're getting one of those benefits like the widow's benefit or the CDB check from the parent, that's going to be based on what that worker earned in their working time. Where the SSI is going to be based on the federal benefit rate, which changes each year and then gets reduced from there, sometimes based on different circumstances. SSDI finally is also changes, like, so with the annual cost of living, that can go up, or if the person receiving the SSDI benefit continues to work when they're receiving that benefit, that eventually, that builds up more credits into the Social Security system. So their SSDI payment can increase based on them paying more into the Social Security system as they work. And then with SSI, you do have the annual change with the cost of living. And then your benefit payment is going to fluctuate if you're working while you receive that SSI payment. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So you can go to the next slide. All right. So getting into what they call the work incentives for these benefits, the SSDI. So these two work incentives that we're talking about here are only applicable to SSDI recipients. So you really have to think of the two programs very separately because how working impacts them and what work incentives can be applied to each one are different. So with SSDI, a lot of you probably heard the TWP, the trial work period. So everyone eligibility for SSDI is eligible for a trial work period. This is 9 months where Social Security would not count how much you earned. So you could earn any amount of money in these 9 months and you would still be eligible to receive your SSDI payment. So the 9 months don't have to be in a row. Social Security is going to count you as using one of those 9 months each time your monthly earnings, your monthly gross earnings are above a certain amount. That amount's different each year. So this year for 2024, the trial work level is $1,110 a month. So each time someone earns that's getting SSDI, if your monthly earnings are above that, that counts as one of those 9 trial work months. So earning, once you've used those 9 trial work months, then you go into the next work incentive phase called the extended period of eligibility. This would be 36 months. So it starts immediately after you've used your 9th trial work month. It starts a 3-year period, 36 3-month period. And during that period, basically then Social Security is looking at a different amount of money per month, and that's the SGA level, the substantial gainful activity level. So when you're in your 3-year extended period of eligibility, any month, if you have earnings over the SGA level, which this year is $1,550 in gross earnings. So if your countable earnings, and we'll get into countable kind of things that can affect countable earnings here in a minute, but countable earnings are over that amount, you're not going to be eligible. You'd have your SSDI payment suspended in that month. If your earnings are below in the month, then you continue to receive your SSDI check. So it's basically a 3-year period where someone could possibly go in and out of eligibility for the SSDI payment, but you're never going to be terminated during that 3-year period. It would only be a suspension of your benefits. So it gives people a longer time period to perhaps have the option to try out and work at a higher level and make sure that that's sustainable for them possibly before, they could potentially lose the benefit entirely, or usually it's not entirely, you can always reapply, but lose the benefit and have it terminated. I think we covered, yeah, we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so another work incentive that applies only to SSDI recipients are what they call subsidy and special conditions. And these only apply after the trial work period is completed. So that's a question I think I hear come up some, is that people are starting to question about, applying these subsidies or special conditions during the trial work period. So during the trial work period, they don't look at any other work incentives. It's just your earnings are your earnings. What you earn is counted, and you're eligible for your payment during that whole time, those 9 months regardless. So they don't need to apply any other work incentives. Once that ends and you're in the extended period of eligibility, or even beyond those 3 years, is when we'd be looking at other work incentives like the subsidy and special conditions. So this would be if someone is helping you with some work supports, such as job coaching, perhaps a different schedule than other workers in your position, extra breaks, a lighter workload, anything where you're getting some special help and or accommodations could be counted as a subsidy / special conditions. And what this means is that they will, well, actually, I think the next slide goes into like how that's applied, but some examples down here, that we have too: extra supervision, extra time to perform, adjustment of your work schedules or duties. So I think, yeah, so this would be an example of how in practice that helps people with SSDI. So you are, the SGA level, again, this year is $1,550 in gross earnings per month. So that's kind of what they're looking at for If you go over that, you're not eligible for if your countable earnings are over that, you're not eligible for your SSDI payment generally. So in this example, the individual is receiving $900 a month in their SSDI. They are working and earning $1,800 in gross earnings per month. So if no other work incentives applied, they would be over the SGA level. They'd be over $1,550, so they would not be eligible any longer for their SSDI check, or during that month if they're in the EPE, that 3-year period. They're past their trial work month in this situation. So, however, they do have some conditions, some subsidies on the job that have been proven and documented and submitted to Social Security. So the Social Security Administration approves this person as having a 30% subsidy to their work. So the Social Security Administration then takes the $1,800 in earnings that they have, their gross earnings, multiplies that by 30%. And so their subsidy equates to $540 per month. So what Social Security does is they're not going to count that $540 of their earnings. So they're going to subtract that from the $1,800. That leaves the person's countable earnings as only $1,260, which is below the SGA level, below the $1,550. So that allows that working individual to keep their SSDI payment, even though their technical earnings look like, their actual earnings are above the SGA level. Okay. I think this is where you're taking over, Darenda.
It is. Thanks, Jeannie. All good information.
Sure.
I just want to add a few things before I start. We had a lot of fears that we noted earlier, but beneficiaries, one of their biggest fears is if I start to work, I'm going to lose my benefits. And that's not true. There's, contrary to popular belief, the government doesn't want you to lose everything immediately. So these work incentives, these are options out there to be able to continue keeping your benefits when working. For you, don't try to become the expert. Just know there's options out here, and you have this presentation to refer back to. Social Security will send beneficiaries a bazillion letters on all kinds of things, but they don't often tell them about work incentives. And these are really, really important, and they help a person to make that good decision about working. So another work incentive is called impairment-related work expense, or IRWE for short. SSDI beneficiaries can only use IRWE after they've completed the trial work period. SSI, supplemental security income beneficiaries, can use it anytime. And basically, an IRWE is any out-of-pocket expense made by the beneficiary that enables them to work and relates to the disability. The expense can't be paid by someone else. For example, if someone has waiver services and they pay for transportation costs, then that cannot be an IRWE. But there are many, many things out there that can be used. So some of those examples are supported employment services, attendant care, transportation costs. I work with a lot of individuals in rural areas where you don't have a 24/7 transportation. So they have to be, driven to and from work or drive themselves. So sometimes transportation costs can be an IRWE, and that can be a big one. Medical devices, prosthesis, medications and therapies, co-pays, deductibles, and co-insurance. Some of our beneficiaries have Medicare, and they may not have Medicare where Medicaid pays those things. So they have out-of-pocket. Those out-of-pocket expenses can absolutely be impairment-related work expenses. Next slide. So an example on how that works. Again, SSDI beneficiaries cannot use this until their trial work period is complete. Again, substantial gainful activity this year is $1,550 gross per month. That's always a really important number for beneficiaries and those who support them to remember every single year. The individual receives $900. They have $1,600 gross per month in earnings, and their trial work period is complete. Because they're earning over the substantial gainful activity of $1,550 gross per month, their SSDI benefit is subject to cessation unless they can use a work incentive to reduce countable earnings. I like to look at work incentives as deductions or reductions, if you will. So this person has $300 a month in transportation costs. On paper, some individuals think they get the money back in their pocket. That's not true. The reduction is just something that's done by Social Security on paper if eligible. So this person earns $1,600 gross per month. They have $300 in eligible transportation expenses. That reduces their countable earnings to $1,300 gross per month. They're below the SGA of $1,550. So now their SSDI benefit continues. That's a big plus. SSI, so supplemental security income, always reduces with earnings, where SSDI, you either get it or you don't. So the federal benefit rate this year for SSI is $943. This beneficiary in this example only receives SSI. Their earnings are $806 gross per month, and they have $200 in eligible transportation expenses. Again, don't think you need to become the expert on this. This just shows you how Social Security comes up with the reduction in their SSI. They take the countable earnings minus general exclusions and earned income exclusions that equal $85. That takes their countable income to $721. They have the $200 eligible IRWI. Now their countable earnings are $521. Social Security's calculation divides that by 2, and the countable earnings are $260.50. So note here, not all of your earnings count to reduce the supplemental security income. You then take the $943 minus the countable earnings, and the reduction in the SSI is $682.50. If you didn't have, the beneficiary didn't have eligible IRWI, then the reduction in their SSI would be $582.50. And then note at the bottom, $682.50 in SSI plus their countable earnings, which we know that's gross before taxes, gives them $1,488 per month. An individual always has more money when working. Even when taxes and other things are taken out of their paycheck, you still always have more money, specifically due to the $85 exclusions. All right, that was clear as mud. Next chart. All right, this I think is a huge positive thing for individuals who are going to work and have the capability to earn enough that their SSDI or SSI benefit could stop. And that's called an expedited reinstatement. I look at it as a safety net. So whether or not your SSDI or SSI terminates due to earnings over SGA or 1619B threshold, and then your income decreases or stops and goes below the SGI level, the beneficiary has 5 years from when they received the last payment to go back to Social Security, request an expedited reinstatement. Social Security will, in most cases, allow a 6 months of provisional payments while they conduct a continuing disability or medical review. In order to get back on, the initial or primary disability has to be still in place, which we know that usually doesn't go away. If once that's done, then they put them back into pay status. What's really cool about this, they don't have to go through that whole reapplication process. If you've ever supported someone applying for disability benefits, it's extremely lengthy, complex, and frustrating. If you qualify, or for SSDI beneficiaries, I'm sorry, that are approved for the expedited reinstatement, they are entitled to a new trial work period, that's another 9 months, and another extended period of disability after they've received 24 months of continuous payments from their reinstatement. So again, this is a huge plus for individuals who have the capability to earn over substantial gainful activity. Next slide. All right, this is a supplemental security income work incentive only. It's called blind work expense. It works the same as the impairment related work expense, but the expenses do not have to be related to the blindness. Examples are, and this is a big one, federal, state, local income taxes, and social security taxes. Again, transportation, dues, fees, vehicle modifications, work-related training, guide dog, visual and sensory aids, which I also like to call assistive technology, translation of materials into Braille, medical equipment, and so on. You don't have to read every single one of those for you. But what happens is when the beneficiary submits their pay stubs to Social Security for their month of earnings, these things, if eligible, are deducted from their countable earnings, thus lowering their countable income and allowing them to keep much more of their SSI when working. So this is huge. Next slide, please. And this is another one I believe is huge. It's called student earned income exemption or exclusion. So when I have a lot of young people that, want to go to school, they want to go to a traditional school, or they want to learn a skill of some sort. So when an individual is receiving SSI, working and regularly attending school, and under age 22, the SEIE can be implemented. If you look up in the top corner in that balloon, you'll see that an individual can get up to $2,290 per month of their earnings not counted. Therefore, their SSI doesn't reduce. And then up to $9,230 annually. That's quite a bit of earnings. You do have to be enrolled in 7th to 12th grade for at least 12 hours a week, a college or university for at least 8 hours. Please note these are not full-time requirements. A training course to prepare for employment. Any of the above reasons, if beyond the student's control, like for example, an illness, or a transition program preparing them for employment, which we know that we have plenty of programs out there preparing people for employment. One thing I have caught many times in the past is we have a young person who's enrolled in school. They take the summer off to work. They go back to school in the fall. Social Security reduces their supplemental security income for the earnings they earned in the summertime because they weren't in school. They can't do that. The work between school years is absolutely permitted to use the SEIE. I should have said that another way. They are permitted to use the SEIE for that time frame. Okay, how does this work? More math, yay. Okay, on the first one, a person is earning wages and regularly attending school using the student earned income exclusion. Again, this year's supplemental security income federal benefit rate is $943. In this example, the beneficiary receives only SSI. Again, their earnings are $806 gross per month. Remember, I told you earlier in that little balloon, you can have up to $2,290 gross of your monthly earnings excluded. So this person is earning 806. SEIE is approved or applied for the whole 806. And that means they have zero reduction in SSI. So they get the 943 plus the 806. Their gross monthly income is 1749. This is a big, big motivator for those who are able to continue their education. And remember, we have a lot of individuals that remain in high school up until 21, 22 years old and are able to work. Okay, the example to the right, earning wages, not attending school, not using SEIE. They don't know about it. Again, FBR, federal benefit rates, 943. They receive only SSI. Their earnings are 806. The 806, subtract those two exclusions I told you about earlier, general income, general exclusion, and the earned income exclusion equals 85. Their countable income is 721, divide by 2, it's 360. Social Security subtracts that countable income from the federal benefit rate. The SSI reduction is 582.50. If you see the bottom there, that reduction of 582 plus 806 equals 1388. Look at the huge difference between being able to apply SEIE and not. That's, it's almost $400 more a month for that person. So always keep this one in mind. Next slide, please. Oh, future SSDI eligibility. So say we have an individual who just receives SSI. If they were deemed disabled, for example, before age 26, they only need 6 credits to be eligible for Social Security disability insurance. And like, who cares? Well, you do care because SSDI doesn't fluctuate with earnings. And it also gives the individual in time an entitlement to Medicare, which opens them up to more providers, and in some cases, better care. The dollar amount it takes to earn 1 credit per quarter this year is $1,730 gross. That's not much. That's 1 quarter, 3 months. If an individual earns that much money in a 3-month period, they get 1 credit. Or it can be a total of $6,920 annual for their annual income, meaning they could have earned $2,000 in 1 quarter and $3,000 another quarter, not worked, but then earned another $2,000 in the last quarter. They're still going to get all 4 credits. The younger you are, as I said, when you're disabled, the less amount of credits you need. People who are not disabled, who work and pay into Social Security all their life, need 40 credits to take regular retirement, regular Social Security retirement. Not so with disability. Okay, and then just a reiteration, to be considered a disabled person for Social Security, you must be unable to perform substantial gainful activity. The SGA for non-blind, as we've said more than once, is $1,550 gross per month. The blind SGA is $2,590 gross per month. Plus they get that blind work expense of SSI beneficiaries only. They have the ability to have quite a bit in earnings and still keep benefits. Next slide. Okay, why is it important to report income? Okay, by law, if an individual receives supplemental security income, they are required to report their earnings every single month. Individuals who receive Social Security disability insurance don't have that legal requirement. But if they don't report, so I'm going to back up to individuals, beneficiaries get a bazillion letters a month or whatever time frame, telling them a lot of things that are very difficult to understand. You will never get a letter saying how many trial work period months you have completed or that you did complete your trial work period. The only way that Social Security can track whether or not you are using trial work period months is if you turn in your pay stubs every single month. I've had many, many situations where Social Security told a beneficiary receiving SSDI they did not have to report their earnings. The individual eventually used all their trial work period months. They were earning over SGA. Social Security did not catch the issue until well into a multiple $1,000 overpayment. That's not a good situation. So please make sure that you always have both beneficiaries report their earnings every single month. You actually have until the 10th, but it's better to have them report by the 6th, if possible that way, especially since supplemental security income, SSI, is paid 2 months in the arrears. So the benefit an individual receives in May is based on their March income. Not reporting for SSI purposes, again, creates overpayments. All right, so if they're told, and I've heard this so many times, you know, if an SSDI beneficiary is told not to report, that's just not true. Just do it anyway. And I've had many expert Social Security claims reps tell me, don't always tell them to report the earnings. Okay, next slide. Where and how to report. So there's multiple ways to report, and although the pandemic brought us a lot of negatives, it also helped in some ways now that everything was shut down and the only way we could do things was online or by phone. You can now report in multiple ways. You can call the toll-free number or your county Social Security office. Deaf or hearing impaired, there's a number as well. You can mail in the pay stubs. Beneficiaries should make copies of the pay stubs before they're mailed in. And Social Security is required again by law to provide a receipt. This is one of my least favorite ways to report. Again, I've represented many people with overpayments who mailed them in, did not get a receipt, and then it became the beneficiary's word against Social Security. And often that ends in a negative outcome for the overpayment. You can report in person. You know, you have to put in you have to check in when you're in the Social Security office. So keep that ticket that shows you were there. Some offices have a drop-off box. Don't use that one either. Again, you have no proof if you drop your benefits or your pay stubs off in a drop-off box. Faxing. Some people think faxing is so old-fashioned, but Social Security, JFS, they use it readily. If you fax the pay stubs, you have that transmission page that says the date they were sent and that whether or not it was transmitted okay or not. And then the best method is through the My Social Security account. And as I said before, because of the pandemic, Social Security is adding many options to your My Social Security account that allow you to do things without having to actually go to the agency or sit on hold for hours and hours. Everyone should have a My Social Security account, not just people who have impairment, everyone. Okay, and then I've already said all that. Okay, perfect. Questions? I know you have a bazillion.
They do. Of course they do. And for you guys that are tuning in, if you see some of the questions got answered, and you can click on the answered box to look at those answers, because Jeannie's been working hard to answer some of them. But let's go through a couple of them that is going on. Somebody asked, let's see, what is the maximum amount of money allowed in the stable account per year? And is this money easily accessible by the person? We don't have our do we have our stable specialist, Darenda or Jeanne? You know what you
I can do it. I can do it. So for this year, it changes every year. For an individual who is not working, the maximum amount is 17,000 this year. If an individual works, there's an additional amount, I think it's around 13,000 that can be input into the stable account as well. Does an individual have access? Absolutely. Do keep in mind that a stable account has no brick and mortar. It's all online. So it has to be attached to a checking account or savings account. People put money into their stable by transferring it over, and to take money out, you transfer it back to the checking or savings account. Or there's an option to have a debit card that has to be loaded. It doesn't work like a regular bank debit card. You have to actually load money. And what's really important, especially for SSI recipients, is when you take money and transfer it back to an account or on a debit card, it's got to be spent down under $2,000 before the first day of any month.
I'm going to jump in because I think they just updated for 2024 at 18,000 now. Yeah. And an additional 15, I had to look it up, sorry, an additional 14,580 on top of that if it's from your own work earnings. So from the individual themselves working and they put in their own money from their earnings, you can put an additional 14,580 a year.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
And I will do a shameless plug. We will be having a Fear Factor coming up about the stable accounts, I believe, right, Anne? We've got, yeah.
We are slated for June. Don't hold us to that, but look for more to come. But yeah, we know that that's one, especially with some updates that we wanted to get back out there to you all.
Yeah. And it is super important. I think the biggest thing with stable account is that the person needs to either be pretty able to use the telephone or you know, internet, like we were talking about. There's a lot of computer stuff that you need to be able to do, or have somebody that is able to help them with that. And it's fairly easy if you have that, but if you don't, it's a bit of a struggle. All right, quick question. I know you mentioned it, but how many work credits are needed to be eligible for SSDI for an individual who has been diagnosed with a disability prior to age 23?
6.
And wasn't it 26 actually? It was.
You know, I've seen it 2 different places. I've seen it 26 in one place and 24 in another.
Okay. Okay. 6 credits is that answer. Perfect. All right. What if a person is receiving SSI and is paid into, this is complicated, Elizabeth. All right. Is paid into SSDI, but can't receive SSDI because they said that he makes too much money with just his SSI. He does not have community employment at all. Also, it impacts his ability to have Medicaid because they said that make too much. Anything for that one?
Jeannie, you want to do that one or you want me to?
I can try. You can jump in though. Okay, so let me rephrase it, make sure I understand. So they're receiving SSI, they paid into SSDI, but they can't actually get the benefit because I'm guessing making too much money, they're over the SGA level. So they're not going to be eligible for that SSDI payment. Okay, that's what, okay, I'm thinking, okay. I don't know if there's a simple answer though, like other than, you know, looking at work incentives, is there some way that the countable income could possibly be, you know, brought down to below the SGA level using some work incentives to make them eligible for that SSDI now? The other point is, I guess, sorry, I'm reading it again. Impacts his ability to have Medicaid. Medicaid because he has too much. That part of it, I would say, working, you say working. So MBIWD, Medicaid, the category of Medicaid, when you're working, you can have quite, you know, very high earnings really and be eligible for that still. So I would look into that for the Medicaid eligibility piece. And the other point I was just thinking about with the, even though you can't get the SSDI right now, still remember that's great. The work is still building up more and more credits, and that's, you know, eligibility towards eventual, you know, retirement, Social Security benefits too down the road. Or if they're not, or if he's not able to work, he or she can not able to work in the future, that eligibility is going to be there to get the SSDI then. Anything to add, Darenda? I don't know.
No, not at all.
Anyone else?
I kind of misread that a little bit. I thought maybe that Social Security was counting their SSI benefit within their countable income, and that's not the case. That can't be done. It's only earned income that's counted.
Yeah,
But
I thought it said that they were counting SSI
yeah.
against his SSDI. It sounded like that.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
can't be
follow
done.
up with some of us, whoever put that in there. We're
Yeah.
not sure, but it looks like, you know, depending on things, we definitely, that's a complicated one. Let's hit a couple of the other ones. I'm not sure. Somebody said, what if the earning is less than $300 a year? Meaning, I'm assuming that you're working, but you're making less than $300 a year. I think that might have been about maybe reporting wages. I don't know. They might have put that in there when we were talking about reporting wages. I mean, we should.
It doesn't
obviously-
matter what you're earning. If you're earning $1, you have to
Yeah.
report it.
You should
And
report it.
it doesn't matter what you're earning if you're an SSI recipient. And again, SSDI, you have to report your income.
Yeah.
And
you
if it's
obviously would be
SSI, it
eligible for
will
lots of
reduce.
things. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're only making $300. I know there's a lot of stable questions. And I really, because we are, you know, there is a great website and we actually have a recorded session about stable. But you know, there is many ways that you can have two people accessing a stable account. The person can name who they want to help them. You do not have to have paperwork or anything. You just, they just name that person.
No, they have to have paperwork, hon. I'm sorry, Lisa. They have to be the authorized representative.
Yeah, not if they don't have an authorized rep. It depends. I'm just on my son's and I never turned in anything with it. I mean,
Really?
I might have said, I mean, he has his own Medicaid, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't,
Sure.
I don't know. Anyways, come back. We're going to have these questions in June. It's great. And let's see, I'm gonna put these down. I'm gonna put all these down because you have to come back. We cannot
Have to
that's
stay
all
tuned
stable.
for the next
Here we go.
episode.
Yeah, Katie said, can SSDI work credits come from group employment or vocab, or are the earnings only applicable to competitive community employment?
I mean, if the person's earning money and they're taking Social Security taxes out of the paycheck, it doesn't matter what setting the work is done in.
And then Nicole kind of.
So that means you definitely have to report, because a lot of times we'll see where those wages don't get reported because people don't think they count, and then they do.
Somebody, Nicole was asking about, could you consider vocab for student earned income exclusion as a course of vocational or technical training?
Depends on if it meets the requirements of the SEIE, like in how many hours they're going. And I've had in the past some things be questionable, and I just sent them to Social Security and asked them to make a determination if it was eligible or not.
Okay, so Elizabeth just cleared up that first question. So she's just saying he has no earned income, but they're using the benefit against him. So something's wrong there. Who could she reach out to? What would be a person to talk more about that with?
You can reach out to me. I sent her a private message.
Okay.
Paula from the COG.
Thank you, Paula. All right, perfect. All right. If the person is in a trade apprenticeship program and are making more than the threshold for SSDI, do the incentives apply to them, or do they have to wait to complete the work trials?
So if they're earning more than SGA, when the trial work period has been completed, then they are permitted, if eligible, to use additional work incentives. An SSDI person cannot use impairment-related work expenses, a pass, or a subsidy until they complete the 9-month trial work period.
Okay. And then Charity asked about for the my social security account, can other people be assigned access to this as well, or just the person who is getting benefits?
Good question. I have never seen other people be permitted to get into someone's account because of all the multi-layer security. But that's a
Yeah.
good question. I think we need to
Yes.
explore the answer.
Look at that.
not-
Charity stumped the chump. Chump the stump. What is that?
She does that. She does that. I know that girl.
I mean, obviously you can be sitting with a person and help them assist as long as they're there.
That's what I was going to suggest too, Lisa.
And
Yeah.
that's
if
what,
there's-
yeah, I mean, rather than actually assigning like somebody else to be in charge of it.
I don't
Okay.
think there's an option for that. I feel like I just helped someone set up and I didn't see anything where there was an option to assign someone else access to their Social Security account, and especially since Social Security has these rules where you shouldn't create an account for someone else. So I would suspect that there's not an option to do that. But like you guys said, they can, sit alongside the individual to help them access the account.
I hope people are staying on because we have a fun little quiz to see what you learned, but we have one more question, just a real quick. If a person has been on SSDI for a couple of years and then starts working, does the trial work period start then?
Trial
Yes,
work
it starts
period.
whenever
Yeah.
you have the
Thank you,
earnings.
Jeanne.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it just starts whenever you have, the trial work period starts whenever you have earnings that hit the trial work threshold. So you might actually become entitled to SSDI, don't work at all for a few years, for example, start working, but maybe you're making $900 a month or something that's under the threshold, then it doesn't actually start then yet either. It doesn't actually start till you have a month where you hit that trial work level of earnings.
I sense a little concern in the crowd, guys, around reporting wages, which is actually another shameless plug. Our next session, I believe, is about reporting wages. So people seem to be a bit stressed. So we got the question, like, what suggestions would you have for family members who are payee for their disabled adult child that have not been reporting for years?
Get those reported real quick because there's a big chance there's an overpayment looming. Now, I do know that when people don't report, Social Security waits till they get the IRS tape for the previous year, which is usually not till the April-May timeframe. They're not, if it's, that's scary. If someone hasn't been reporting for years and they're a rep payee, Social Security's dropped the ball because there's reporting that has to be done by official rep payees. It's a requirement.
Yeah. And maybe it's not a lot of money. I mean, that's the other thing. And she's also saying, I think I saw Jeanne mentioned, the parent isn't able to tell me if the individual has SSI or SSDI. Jeanne, did you say that somebody might be able to help with that? How to figure that out really quick?
So I have
Yeah.
a quick tip for that. Oh,
Yes.
thanks, Jeannie.
Okay.
So I work with a lot of people and they're like, I have no idea what I'm getting. And so when they call me and they have a letter in front of them, I always tell them to look in the top left of their letters from Social Security, because there's this bold print that will tell them where the benefit is coming from and what it is. So if it says retirement, survivor, and disability at the top left, then it's an SSDI benefit or a benefit through a parent work record or something like that. But if it says supplemental security income up in the top left, then it's an SSI benefit. So that, I think, from the letters is the quickest and easiest way to tell what benefit they're getting. There's also other ways, the Medicaid, Medicare stuff. If someone tells you they're getting Medicare, they're getting an SSDI or a childhood disability benefit. Those kind of things you can sometimes tell from the benefit amounts as well. Like we talked about. Yeah. If it's over $943, it's not an SSI benefit unless they're married. So little things like that can help and go a long way.
Another thing to consider is if the payment when is it deposited into your account? If it's the first of the month, then it's SSI. If it's deposited like on the third of the month or another day during the month, then most likely is SSDI benefits.
We should make a cheat sheet for SSAs.
But
about
of course, if you have your automatic 2-day early pay in your bank, Sometimes it comes like 2 days before the first or the third, whenever your day is set, comes like 2 days before. I get
Awesome.
that.
Yeah, that's very confusing to some of the guys that I work with when they get their paycheck before they're supposed to, and then everything. So yeah, Lisa said we need to make that. So maybe Paula, maybe you can make a little cheat sheet when you guys do the reporting for us to add into the next PowerPoint about, you know, that way we can use the right words with the family and start like kind of doing a little bit more. All right. Also, there was a suggestion in the Q&A about sometime maybe focusing on married couples and some of this information. I know we don't have a ton of married couples in the DD field, but we really don't know, and that's kind of an assumption. And it might be helpful for even some of the family members and things that we're talking to about stuff. So thanks for that idea. I'm going to go ahead and, all right.
I also just answered in the chat on the suggestion for the stable account to make sure we include payee information, and I made a note to make sure we address that when we cover that in June. So thank you for that suggestion also.
Awesome. All right. And do I go right to the quiz or do we pull up a PowerPoint? I don't remember.
I don't know. We've never done it before. Let's
I
find
know,
out.
we're new.
I
Let's
am
see
going
what
to.
the PowerPoint says. Oh yeah, so
We do.
she wrote the quiz. I'll also put the quiz out for you guys so you can take it. Hopefully, if I can figure out a way to do the quiz. Now it says that we already ended the quiz.
I think we can relaunch
Yes, we can
it.
relaunch it.
Yes, good.
Yay, because we didn't know what we were doing. All right, so go ahead and we are relaunching the quiz. So I'll read the questions to you guys as you guys answer. Which type of disability benefit does not require the applicant to have any work history? All right, come on, you guys, you got this. It's either SSI, SSDI, DWB, and the CDB. Did you talk about CDB? I did not get that.
Childhood disability benefit.
Oh God, you did, because I thought something completely different. Okay. Number 2, if an SSDI beneficiary receives extra support on the job, such as extra breaks or adjusted work duties, this may qualify as a special benefit, an impairment related work expense, a subsidy, or a blind work expense. And that is one choice. All right. Number 3, to be eligible, this is a fancy quiz. This is a fill in the blank, by the way. To be eligible to file for expedited reinstatement.
Uh-oh. Lisa froze. It's going to come back on, but I'll
I
finish.
don't even see the question in the on top.
The next question is to be eligible to file for expedited reinstatement of SSDI or SSI. The request must occur within blank year or years of termination of the prior benefit. So that one's a fill in the blank. And next question. To meet the definition of an impairment-related work expense, the expense must be A, paid by the beneficiary, must be a reasonable cost, be paid by another source, D, A and B, or E, B and C. And look at that, I accidentally gave it away on this one. What is generally the best method of reporting wages to Social Security Administration? And you all are geniuses who had already answered it anyway without it being up on the screen. So, all right, those of you who are coming in, we're going to give you a few more seconds. We've got most of you who have responded. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, see, just as I'm about to say end the poll, more people fill in. Okay. Couple more seconds here as you finish up the quiz, and then we'll go through the answers. Since this is the first time we've done this, we weren't quite sure how it was going to show up on the screen with the poll. So they're still flying in. I'm giving it a few more seconds. Lisa, are you back? Not yet.
And I think some people are saying that their quiz went away.
Oh, when I bet Lisa froze up because she was screen sharing. Okay, well, let me end the poll. since we are right at the end, I'm going to share the results and see if it gives, oh, okay, good. It does give us the correct answer as we do it. I had slides because I didn't know. So the first answer was in fact SSI. So the type of disability benefit that does not require the applicant to have any work history is SSI. For the second question, if a SSDI beneficiary receives extra support on the job, such as extra breaks or adjusted work duties, this may qualify as, and the correct answer was subsidy. For number 3, to be eligible to file for expedited reinstatement of SSI or SSDI, the request must occur within 5 years of termination of the prior benefit, 5 being the correct answer. Number 4, to meet the definition of an impairment-related work expense, or IRWI, the expense must be, and the correct answer was D, A, and B, which was be paid by the beneficiary and be a reasonable cost. And number 5, what is generally the best method of reporting wages to the Social Security Administration? The best option is through the online My Social Security account. Thank you all for playing along with that. And as I said, we had the answers up here too, so let me fly through these because it just gives you the same answers, but we'll give you the visual as we go through as well.
And thanks for covering for me. I got booted out and brought back into the meeting.
No worries. Gotta love technology. It's always when you
It looks like we did good on a couple of our questions.
Yeah, we did. So some of you all were giving us some ideas already and we've jotted those down, but we want to make it an official and give everybody the chance to tell us. So our final poll here is, what's next? Tell us what you would like to learn more about regarding benefits and fears in future episodes. So we have some suggestions here: stable account, which we saw some of you all already asking questions, work incentives for older adults, how will work impact housing, transportation, and food assistance benefits, and then make sense of all these resources, which I think some of you all were saying that cheat sheet, right? And then if there's something else you're thinking about, put some ideas in the chat. If you have something else, feel free to choose that. Tell us what you're thinking in the chat would be great.
Also, I just put down Jeanne and Darenda's slides again. They're at the beginning of the chat and they're there right now. I know a lot of you have been asking for them, so they are there if you can access them. They also will be on the OACB Member Connect under Documents, and they also will eventually be on the Employment First website.
And just a note, bear with us on the Employment First website. We had some behind the scenes when we switched over to the brand new, beautiful Employment First website. It meant that some of our systems of how it is operating meant we had to get delayed in getting things posted. We do have some updates that will come to the Fear Factor page, so stay tuned. That should be up very, very soon. And we'll add this information to it as well.
I saw somebody mention MBIWD.
Yep.
I can say this, but this is something that would be after July 1st, okay? Not before. Is that once, because July 1st is when the work incentives group goes into effect for 65 and older, it might be good to then have the Medicaid department and others do that training on here. Or we also have the PowerPoint, but that's just a suggestion.
No, Christine,
And for any of you, anyone on this who's in the Central Ohio area, we're open to lots. March 1st, the Department of Medicaid is going to be coming to a regional event speaking about this work incentives group 65 and older.
Yeah, that's awesome. Christine, thank you so much for all the work you've done on MBIWD. It's been amazing. She's been leading the charge in Ohio and getting a lot of people excited about it. So there is movement and we are so excited.
Been working on this since 2015.
Yes, you
almost
have.
10 years.
Ever champion Christine on the MBWID. All
Well,
right, I'm going to end the poll.
it's just,
And it looks like you all have said that you would like to know about how housing, transportation, and food assistance benefits will impact. This is one we have it on the list. It might take us a little bit more time than some of the other topics, so bear with us if it's not the very next episode, but we will work on pulling that together. Next behind that was stable, which, good news, will be coming very soon. And then there's still interest in these other topics, work incentives for older adults, and let's keep it basic, hear everything again. So, and then thank you to those who dropped in the chat. We had comments that included information for payees. We had a comment about completing Social Security forms and redeterminations. I feel like there was one more, but I lost it. So, but we will keep that chat. And thank you for all of those ideas. All right. I dropped in the chat earlier our next episode, which is reporting requirements to maintain benefits. It will happen on March 26th from 9 a.m. to 10:30. The flyer has the link. It'll be similar to this one where you can request continuing ed by registering, or if you want to just show up, you're welcome to do that too. Both of those links are included on the flyer.
Remember, everybody, you are more than welcome to invite people with lived experience or family members or providers to jump on to those, and they don't have to sign up through OACB. They can just use that link that says join now. So we'd love to have 500, 600 people on these. And I would love to be able to have lots of people, because especially with reporting requirements, that's a topic that, you know, a lot of people have to do. So please spread the word, and we will be also spreading the word here, but happy to have them. Somebody just put, she has a friend at JFS that might like these trainings. Are they able to join them? Absolutely.
oh yeah.
All the fear factors, again, we try to always give a link that you don't have to register in Member Connect. They are free for anybody. We have 1,000 person capacity on this. And so we'd love to hit the max. Go ahead and challenge us. I also want to do a shout out for Darenda. Darenda, I believe this will be the last time you're here, saying that you're here from Fairfield County, and thank you for what you have done for Fairfield County, but I hope you're coming back just representing Darenda, right?
Absolutely, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
She's going to be enjoying the retirement world, but rest assured, I've heard she's going to continue in this field and be available to people. So we will continue to keep her on our panel until she says no. So
Thank you so much.
all right. Yes, I would love to have people served to join us on that, and you could come bring them with you, or go to their house and join in, or have a big room and host a bunch of people watching, whatever works for you guys. We would
Somehow this might be a suggestion. If there's a day program or a work training program that's out there, and like, let's say you were to try to have the group sit in on the training, they could be in there,
yes,
and listening in, and can ask the questions, because then it's more interactive, hearing from the individual themselves or their family member or the provider, because we're open to anyone to give us those concerns that they are having.
Yep.
I also
we got to wrap it up, Christine. It's 10:29 and people are
sorry.
leaving.
I can know that we'll continue this, so thanks for your time.
Absolutely, thanks. And let's talk about making a thing on our flyer, host a watch party idea.
I think that's a brilliant idea, Christine. Thank you for that shout out.
Yeah, that would be great. I think we could add that on and tell people, like, just show it. We could have providers, staff, whoever is watching it. So And we'll definitely, I'll even allow an unmuting of people out in the crowd if we get enough people on it. All right,
Thank
everybody,
you
have
all
a
for being here.
amazing day. And thank you from our whole panel. We're just glad you came on, and check OACB Member Connect if you need continuing ed units, and you can reach out to myself or Ann to get contact information from any of these folks. So, all right. Goodbye.
Thank you, Jeannie and Darenda. It's fantastic. Have a
Thanks.
great
All
day,
right,
everyone.
guys. You did great. You're awesome. I'm going to stop the recording really quick. This is what I do. I